What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers. And joining me as always to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers and their weekly recap, as well as looking ahead to a big matchup this upcoming weekend. And, of course, doing our legend segment here on the show, the one and only Mr. Joey Klingsdale. Joey, how you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm great, Logan. How are you? And happy holidays to you.
Yes, sir. Happy holidays to you as well, and as well as to all of our viewers and listeners out there. Hope you all have a safe travel this holiday season for Thanksgiving, and you enjoy some great time with your family and loved ones. And, of course, watch some football because, as we all know, that's always going to be on, whether it's you're watching it to avoid talking to some people or if it's just background noise. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have some football going on in the background of your home on Thanksgiving. But before we get into the show, if you guys enjoy, once again, our Vols weekly recap here this afternoon, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We go live here on the channel each and every single week. Facebook, YouTube. Also, you can go and download our podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. All right, so Joey, let's get into it. As we know, Tennessee, they had an SEC matchup this past weekend against Florida. They won that one pretty decisively. Final score in that ball game, 31 in favor of the Volunteers, and only 11 points for the Florida Gators. Shutout as well for the entire first half of the game. So, Joey, my first question for you here this afternoon is, how does this win at Florida affect Tennessee? We know they finally snapped that 20-year nasty losing streak. It is finally by the wayside. And how does Tennessee feel coming off of a good win against an SEC team in Florida who, look, they have struggled this year, but you'll take all the conference wins you can get?
Absolutely. You know, Florida's one of those teams that Tennessee's always had a tough battle with. And this year was no exception going in. Florida had played well versus a lot of people. They hadn't come away with a lot of victories, but they've played hard. They've played tough. They've been competitive. And Tennessee went in with a different mindset, it looked like, this year. So they went in. And they were able to do pretty much, especially in the first half, exactly what they wanted to do. They could throw the ball around the field. Their run game got on track. Defensively, they came up with a lot of 3 and outs, a lot of stops. They created a couple turnovers. So that was a good win for the Vols, especially in the first half. I think in the second half, they got a little bit conservative and didn't really do much at all because they built up such a huge lead in the first half. But it was a good win for Tennessee, and again, they snapped a 20-year streak, so that was huge.
Yeah, it was a lot of weights off the shoulders for a lot of alumni there. I know yourself included.
Yes.
Seeing that they finally got it off their back and they were finally able to get back in the win column down there in Gainesville, Florida. So, like you said, I think the big takeaway was, look, we've talked about the offense and how it's clicking pretty much all season at Tennessee. And like you said, it was kind of a tale of two halves. The score, Tennessee scored all of their points in the first half, none in the second half. And for Florida, it was flipped. They scored all of theirs in the third and fourth quarter and shut out the first half. So let's talk more about that defense. And what did you like specifically? I know you mentioned a few things like the 3 and outs, but what did you see? Any adjustments you saw that is finally clicking over there at Tennessee that made them, put up only give up 11 points against a good school in Florida with DJ Lagway, who a lot of people talk about, highly rated quarterback?
Well, I saw some a couple things I saw defensively. I saw some changing up in coverages, which I like to see. I saw very good linebacker play this week. Linebackers, they were running downhill with a purpose. It felt like they knew they were really prepared. They knew what to expect, and they were able to play really fast. Defensively, they mixed up whether they were playing a 3-4 or 4-3. You were able to rush the quarterback from the inside out, which meant he had pressure in his face, so he was going to have to bail out to the left or the right. And he when he did that, we had defensive players who were on task and ready to make some plays. So I thought we contained DJ Lagway for the most part. There were a couple of times when he was able to escape the rush and make some yards, but as a whole, the defensive backs played well. We didn't have some of the big explosive plays given up this week that we've had in the past. And again, when you can shut a team out in the first half, that means defensively you're doing some good things, and probably your offense is not turning the ball over and putting the defense in bad situations. So from that standpoint, I thought we did a lot of good things on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was an impressive performance all around, and we touched on it earlier. We're going to talk a bit more about it right now, and that is the kind of conservative or kind of more laid back play calling in the second half. Like I said, they didn't score any points, but they still had all their main guys out there. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, like I said, you score 31, you're in a good position to win the ball game, but I mean, still, you got to think coming out of that one after scoring for two halves, but then not scoring for the other two. You feel like you got left something on the table a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I think the Vol contingency would have preferred the offense and the head coach to play aggressively, to continue to play aggressively, and put as many points on the board as possible. And I don't think we did that in the second half. I think there are a multitude of reasons why you wouldn't do that, and one of them being that you really don't trust the offense not to turn the ball over. You don't trust the quarterback to take shots down the field and not turn the ball over. So then your mindset becomes, okay, we're going to protect this lead instead of playing aggressively. So I thought that's what they did. They tried to protect the lead and not take chances rather than play really aggressively. And sometimes that comes back to bite you. But fortunately, we had such a big lead that it didn't happen this week. But I think the conservative nature of the play calling, especially in certain situations, I thought it happened in the Georgia game. I certainly thought it happened in the Alabama game. There are times during the year when those things occur, they become problematic because it's not like a light switch where you can turn it on and turn it off. So those were while it was problematic in some of the big games that we weren't able to win. In this game, which was a rivalry game, which meant a lot, obviously, to Tennessee and their fan base, we were able to overcome some of the conservative play calling because we had built up such a big lead in the first half.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I think that, like I say, you got one rivalry win already with that win against Florida. And it continues this week, Joey. As we know, the Volunteers last regular season game here, and boy, it's not an easy task. I'll tell you that much. They're facing, of course, the Vanderbilt Commodores, of course, led, as we know, by Diego Pavia, one of the more, we'll just say, well-known quarterbacks in the league, getting his name out there. But you can't deny the results for this program, for Vanderbilt, how well they've done seemingly since he took over the helm there, and how they've really kind of changed their culture in the last handful of months. But let's talk about Vanderbilt, because we know they've been on a tear pretty much all season, coming into this game at 9-2, 5-2 play in the SEC at this point, ranked number 14 compared to Tennessee, who is number 20. And I am seeing here that actually Tennessee is considered the favorite in this ball game. But Joey, let's get your thoughts on it and what kind of the main story you see for Vanderbilt with Commodores coming in to Neyland. This is going to be a home game for Tennessee to round it out. So let's talk about Vanderbilt. What do you like with this team, and what can Tennessee expect this upcoming weekend?
Well, Vanderbilt has a pretty explosive offense. Diego Pavia he's brought a lot of life and energy to the program. I'm a real fan of that head coach they have there. I think he's under the Saban tree, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But he's done some really, really good things. He brought a lot of really good things to their program. They play with an edge. They play with an energy that usually you don't get from a Vanderbilt team. And again, they take their cues from the quarterback. The quarterback plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's a tough guy in the mold of a Baker Mayfield type guy from a leadership perspective. And it shows in the way that they play offense. He'll take shots down the field. He's tough. He'll run the ball. He'll play a physical nature of football when he's running on scrambles and what have you. So I really like some of the things they do offensively, and it will be a challenge for Tennessee. I can understand why Tennessee's a favorite going in because it's a home game. I think if the game were probably in Nashville, I think Vanderbilt will probably be the favorite. But it's a big game for Tennessee. It'll be senior day. It's the last regular season game. It's a rivalry game. So there's a lot on the line. Tennessee will try to keep Vanderbilt from a potential playoff berth. They're ranked 14th. I think Tennessee's 18th now or 20th, whatever. And But I don't see a path for Tennessee to get in. But with some help, Vanderbilt may be able to slip in. So I think Tennessee's mission this week is to go in, play physical football, and spoil any hope that Vanderbilt might have had of sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I said, Tennessee, unfortunately, they are on the outside of the top 12 looking in. And while, Vanderbilt is right there, they're ranked at 14. We know that's not the case, is that, we know that the rest of the Power 5 teams, they get in for a spot there. They might not be ranked off rip, but that's how the brackets work in the college football playoff. And they do need a little bit of luck to get in for Vanderbilt. They're right there on the outside looking in. And if you lose this game, all hope is gone for that, obviously. And if you win, you still have a chance. It's still a little slim, but you still have an option to potentially get in if you're Vanderbilt, following a couple of upsets this weekend, as a lot of the highly ranked teams are facing some good opponents. So there is always that for something to watch out for. But I think with Tennessee, I think really both these teams is whose defense is going to step up the best, who's going to show up this weekend. Because we both know the offenses for these teams are, high powered. They score a lot of points. I think both teams are in the top 10 ranking for points per game. So if you're a defense, boy, good luck. I know that obviously Tennessee's coming off a good performance this past week against Florida. They're hoping that can continue against a definitely much better, much more game, and a lot more to fight for Vanderbilt team this upcoming weekend, who have just everything to go at this weekend. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Tennessee, but hey, it always is, and especially when you're facing a very good Vanderbilt team like we're seeing this year. It makes the rivalry, the final game of the year, like you said, the senior night, where everyone shows out and there's a lot of emotion in the field. It just makes it even better. So I'm expecting a great way to cap off the regular season here for Tennessee, hopefully with a win, as we know, and win the battle here of Tennessee with Vanderbilt. And I think that Diego Pavia and company, they're coming in, they're looking to knock off Tennessee and just kind of add their feather to their cap. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this one is going to go this upcoming weekend. Once again, it's going to be at Neyland this upcoming weekend. If you can get to it, go check it out. We got a tremendous SEC matchup here to round out the regular season. Now, Joey, as you know, we always talk about the legends here on the show, and we have another one lined up for you here today, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about the one and only wide receiver and defensive back, Carl Pickens. Played at Tennessee back in the day from 89 through 1991. And Joey, let's get your thoughts on Mr. Pickens here, and what made you want to talk about him this afternoon here on the show?
Well, Carl Pickens is a special football player and a special athlete. I mean, he came into Tennessee, obviously a heralded wide receiver and defensive back, and he made all conference and all American playing both positions. He was a special player. He was also a 7-foot high jumper. So you combine the athletic skills, the body control, the hand-eye coordination, the size, along with the athletic ability, his ability to go up over people when needed to make a catch, really made him a special receiver. I think he ended up being a second-round pick and not a first-round pick, probably because he didn't have great top-end speed, because he was a strider. He was a build-up speed runner. But he had a really, really good professional career. Carl Pickens was a special player, and anybody that sees him now knows that he's a really good golfer as well. he can really hit the ball a long way, and but most guys that are athletic can, and he was a special talent.
I would say not a whole lot of mulligans for Carl on the green.
No. Be careful if you're playing them.
Yeah. I'm about to say, if he bets you lunch, there's a reason why. It's because he's hungry and he knows he's probably going to win. So, like I said, just a good athlete all around. Like I said, drafted by Chicago in the draft there. Second round, as you mentioned, had a good career overall. Won Rookie of the Year in '92 on the offensive side, and then went on to have a very prosperous career. Went to the Pro Bowl a few times, played in over 100-plus games, and just made a really good career for himself, mostly, like I said, with in his NFL career, but also in college, like we said, where it all started at Tennessee, where, like I said, he was just an athletic, just kind of freak of nature. You can see the photos here on the screen, just a long and lanky build. Like I said, he was one of those guys that would stride. Took him a little bit to get to the top speed, but once he did, it was going to be hard to catch him and hard to drag him down because, like I said, he's got the height, he's got good muscle mass on him. So he was just a force to be reckoned with Tennessee in the late 80s and early 90s. We know in 89 when he got there, they won the championship in the SEC, followed up by 3 New Year's Day appearances, the bowl games, that being Cotton Sugar and Fiesta Bowls. And just a tremendous wide receiver for Tennessee, and one of the many that we've talked about here on the show, but we've also covered previously here on the channel. We have tons of great Tennessee content, looking at players from this era as well as from the past and more recent as well. So go check those out. And he did great work, like I said, in the NFL and in college, and just a big performer. Like I said, the stats are very commendable, very good. And he was just kind of able to do anything. He can return some punts. He can return some kickoffs if you need to. Like I said, played a little bit of defense, but he got four interceptions in 1989, the only year he did play defense.
He was all conference.
He's all conference, like you said. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, he played that 1 year, and then eventually, they had a talk with him and said, all right, you got to pick one here. We have a Travis Hunter situation quite yet here in the early 90s, but hey, he showed out on both sides of the ball, really all sides of the ball, whether it be offense, defense, or on special teams. The number 15, you can just call on him and he'd make you a play. Whether it's returning a kick for 40 yards, whether it was catching a big touchdown or swatting down a ball or getting an interception. In his collegiate career in the NFL, like I said, very, very good time there. Did some good work. Played for just around 10 years and made a good name for himself. But Joey, let's get your thoughts here. Final thoughts on Carl Pickens, our legend here on the show. And also any final thoughts you have about Tennessee as they end the regular season against the Vanderbilt Commodores, their rivals.
Well, again, Carl was a special athlete. Again, he made all SEC and on both sides of the ball, a special returner as well, and a special individual. If you've ever met him, very humble guy, but very bright, articulate. He won't tell you, but I will because I heard him do it. He's a pianist. He can play the piano really, really nicely. So he's a really talented athlete and talented individual. As far as the game is concerned, coming up with Vanderbilt, we're looking at hopefully Tennessee's defense playing similar to the way it played versus Florida, which would be a plus. But on the season, I think Vanderbilt's defense and Tennessee's defense have been in the same boat. I think when they were able to control the score offensively, they did enough to win the football games. And I think that's what has happened for both teams. Offensively, they have been pretty explosive at times. And obviously, Tennessee's offense have been pretty explosive at times as well. So I see this game being a fun game. Hopefully, our defense shows up and we're able to finish the season off with a big win versus a hated rival.
Yeah, hopefully so, obviously, for all the volunteers' sake. And just a couple more thoughts here. Carl Pickens, going back to him. Like I said, a legend. Obviously, we know Tennessee was in the league. Played with the Bengals for the majority of his career from 92 up till 99. And as we know, he set that career-high touchdown mark, 1995. What a special year for him. Just want to highlight that. 17 receiving touchdowns. He had it. He was all by himself for the longest. And then some guy by the name of Jamar Chase came along. And now he's got company. He didn't break the record, but he did tie it. So Carl's got company there in Bengals lore. And he ended his year in a good way. Finished it with the Tennessee Titans. So a nice way to kind of put a bow on his career in the NFL and to get kind of where it all started with his collegiate career, at least in Tennessee. So that's good to see there. And obviously, this upcoming weekend with Tennessee taking on Vanderbilt, it's not going to be easy. We know that. And it's going to be a drag-out brawl. I think that whatever defense does the best has more pressures, has more interceptions, just creates more chaos on that side of the ball. That's who's going to win this ball game, because we know the offense for both these clubs are top tier. We're going to see guys from both these schools get drafted on offense pretty high in the draft. A lot of great talent on all sides, but if you're Tennessee, just got to continue that great momentum that you had coming off last week now against Florida with the defense. You got to hope it can continue against Vanderbilt if you want to keep winning, knock off a rival, end the year on a high note, and look ahead to 2026 in a positive manner, because this is still a very successful season for Tennessee, no doubt about that, and you hope you can end it with the W in that column to end your year at home and for the regular season before you go on to bowl games. We'll talk more about that at a later show. So for my guest host today, my co-host today, Mr. Joey Klinkfield. Always pleasure talking Tennessee football with you. Always talking about legends as well. Always a great time here on the channel here. Once again, check us out, Facebook, YouTube, live each and every single week. Also, go download our podcast, 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio for Joey Klinkfield. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Everyone be safe out there. Enjoy your holiday weekend and go watch some Tennessee football as they hope to beat Vanderbilt to end out the regular season. We'll see you guys again next week for our Tennessee Vols